What is up, everyone? We are here for the finale of a beautiful series with none other than Eric Nowoslawski. So if you've not seen the previous episodes, we've gone from everything with how he started the business, technicalities, personalization at scale. He will not screw your campaigns up because he's one of the best in the world with respect to lead generation.
I mean, I feel like the only thing that matters is emailing people something that, if you really want to boost your replies, emailing them a demand generating offer.
Interesting. You said, just not to go too deep into this, but you said 25 field items on Airtable. Is that what you fill out?
We always say, whatever your compliance framework is, we are following your compliance framework to the T. We're not attempting to take any guess of it. I've never looked at a campaign and thought to myself, wow, this isn't performing well. We got caught in spam traps. Like that's never been the case. If you're trying to build your agency, the biggest thing that you can do, in my opinion, is content marketing.
What is up, everyone? We are here for the finale of a beautiful series with none other than Eric Nowoslawski. I've managed to screw his name up multiple times, but he will not screw your campaigns up because he's one of the best in the world with respect to lead generation. So if you've not seen the previous episodes, we've gone from everything with how he started the business, technicalities, personalization at scale, and how he's pretty much built one of the most, I guess, complex but also valuable infrastructures with respect to high value returns on everything outbound and lead generation. And that's part of the reason why Eric is, technically speaking, one of the highest, if not top three, not percent, top three highest respond receivers on the entire platform within Smartlead. That's been running for over 3 years, serves over 25 to 30 million emails every single day, and he somehow still manages to be in the top three. I don't want to give the actual number just to keep him on the edge of it. I need to keep him a bit excited and talk to me a bit more, but he definitely knows that he's in the top three. So that says a lot because we've got a ton of volume by God's grace, and also adds up to the fact that Eric, whether any of you know or not, is actually triple power because he's part of two other twins, and he somehow carries the power punch of three humans in one with respect to his brain cells when it comes to outbound. So Eric, thank you for coming on. We're going to talk very cool stuff around technical breakdowns and methodologies of campaign creation.
Absolutely.
Let's go for it. All right. I got 4 intros for you. If your wife ever needs anything with hyping you up, you need help, I'm here to help you out, man. You let me know. I'm there for you. All right.
It's so funny when Enzo came over my house, one of the first things he said to her is he was like, "You have no clue. Like you just think of him as Eric, but the amount of people who follow him and talk about him, you have no clue." And I'm like, I try to tell her, but I don't. You know, it's difficult to explain. And even to my friends, they're like, "You talk about what?" And you have 45,000 followers on LinkedIn. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Let's not talk about it. It's weird.
Let's just skip that part. Just humble brag about it later.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Now, question number 1, sir. You've engineered campaigns across SaaS, fintech, services, industries, private equity, as we've spoken about, or even, I guess, other lead gen companies or SaaS businesses. So, fundamental philosophy on what makes a campaign work versus just sending good emails.
I mean, I feel like the only thing that matters is emailing people something that, if you really want to boost your replies, emailing them a demand generating offer. And so what I mean by this, and this completely goes to, I learned this from Daniel Fazio, so I'm not taking credit this for at all. I think a lot of offers are on a spectrum of demand capture versus demand generation. And so, for instance, if you were to say, "Hey, do you need bookkeeping services?" The people who are going to respond to "Do you need bookkeeping services?" are the people who this morning decided that they hate their accountant and they need bookkeeping services. Yeah. And so that's going to work, but it's going to be a higher volume campaign versus if you did a demand generation offer and you were to say, "Hey, I know you already have a bookkeeper, but when was the last time you reviewed your taxes? Because this new bill just changed everything. And, we should just get a second look at your tax plan." That is going to then get people to think, "Oh, you know what? You're right. I do have an accountant, but we do need a second view. Like, look at all this stuff. Great." And so framing it in more of a way that would pique people's interest and generate demand is the way that we really think about it. But there's also some offers that it is a waste of time for the company to mess around with those generating demand people, and they just need to be capturing demand as much as possible. So one schema was a company that we worked with back in like my early, or I think they were like I think they were under customer 10. Like they were one of the first few customers that I worked with. And we just found that if we put, like, somebody liked this email so much that they posted about it on LinkedIn, but we just found if we just said, hey, we saw your support page around CSV imports here, and then we put the link to the support page, because we found that even though we were sending a link in the email, if it hurt deliverability at all, the people who saw the link were like, okay, they actually saw the link. Great.
Yeah.
And then we just basically were like, hey, you shouldn't need a support page for CSV imports. It should be so easy for your people. How would you like us to do your CSV import with our plugin versus your engineering team managing CSV imports and all these other things? And then that would just get leads every day, and that worked, and that was all good, right? And if they had opted for something of like, do you want an audit of your CSV experience, it would just completely waste their time in comparison to what they were doing. So we'll still do demand generation and demand capture type of campaigns, because if you can make a demand capture campaign work, that's great, because then you have a straighter line to a call. Outbound sales already has a longer sales process than inbound sales. And so if you can, we want to be going for that. But it's also like a lot of times when you see campaigns that work really well, you see the offer and you're like, okay, that's going to work. That makes a lot of sense. We're still surprised. I mean, this is why we have a free test, right? We're still surprised. We'll see some people sometimes. We just did a free test for somebody yesterday or on Wednesday that I was thinking, hey guys, let's just do this free test for practice. No way we're going to get leads. This is super weird. Who the heck needs this? And then they got 3 leads off of sending 1,000 emails on a campaign that we took 15 minutes to put together. So I was like, all right, maybe this has some legs. I didn't really realize the market needs this. So the biggest thing is just, how can you position it? And I guess I'll add one more thing. How can you position it so that the people that you're reaching out to are interested? And then also framing has a lot to do with it. Like Taylor Horan just had a LinkedIn post where they were talking about how they cut our B2B's positive responses from 1 in 700 to 1 in 350 or whatever it was. And basically he went from really hinging on anonymous website identification that you wouldn't be able to know otherwise to, it's completely free. You're missing out on these people. And it's free. You're crazy. Go use this free tool. And that was what the cut was. So still, obviously, like, free is demand generating, like by far. So that is like another thing we think about too.
Awesome. Now, this question can go on for a while or it can't. So it's fully up to you.
Sure.
But from the moment a client signs on, walk us through your campaign development process. What's your systematic approach of understanding their market, their competition, and the buyer psychology until you actually find the leads, close it, send it?
Yeah. So, man, we literally, in our Airtable, as soon as a client signs on with us, we have an automation that builds a 25-step like checklist of all the things that need to get done. We have a pretty long onboarding form, and our onboarding calls are an hour. And so we gather a lot of the information through the onboarding form. But I would say there's 3 things that you need to nail in order to get a positive response in cold email: the email infrastructure, the list, and the messaging. And so the email infrastructure, Smartlead makes easy for us. That's just like taken care of. And we just do that, especially with our partners, Hypertide. Then we need to be talking about the list, and we need to be talking about the messaging. And so on the list side, we're very much talking about, okay, who are you generally trying to target? And who are the people that are going to sneak in that are going to be bad fits for you based on companies or based on titles? And so if you do a search, we just had a customer who wanted to target banks. If you put companies in with the banking industry, customers don't know this, but the top 4 things that I think about as soon as somebody asks us to target an industry in particular is, there are staffing and recruiting firms that will put that as their industry on LinkedIn that are going to make their way in. There are management consulting firms that will do that. There are SaaS companies, and then there's software development companies that will all say, and marketing agencies, I guess SaaS and software development, that will all say, we are in the banking industry, but they're really just service providers for the banking industry. So that right off the top is just something that we'll immediately start taking out. And then we'll also say, like, okay, what about, all right, you want to target cleaning companies. I know for a fact, because I've stared at this data
so many times, if you try to target cleaning companies, property management companies are going to sneak in too. Do you want to target property management companies? No. Okay, we need to be thinking about that and cleaning it up as well too. And usually we're doing a lot of cleanups with ChatGPT assisted comma separated lists of keywords that we're putting into Apollo, and we're doing include these keywords on the company description, exclude these keywords. Or in Clay, they have a lot of like derived data points that maybe we were talking about in another episode that will also stuff that in. And then sometimes we'll either use Zenrose or Johnny to like get Jane, I forget now, .ai to get the markdown of the website. To then also do a keyword lookup. Yeah, a keyword lookup of the website to make sure that they mention good keywords as well too. I try to do industry classification with AI last, mostly because it's like, all right, look, if you are trying to reach out to property management companies and they say property management on their website, you're good to go. Sometimes with AI, it'll be like, it's so hard to think about like all of the different. One time we were trying to make it clean up for like plastic surgeons, and then a company that did plastic surgery and dermatology came in and they're like, not qualified. They do dermatology. I was like, stuff like, so we try to do AI last, but if we need to use AI to clean up the list, we'll absolutely do that. So especially if
AI to clean the list in what way?
So specifically, if you are trying to make sure that a company actually sells a physical product, that's a great use for AI. So if you're looking for like direct consumer companies or retail companies or something like that, we'll pull down the website with Zenrose or Janie and then use Open Router with 03 or 04, mostly 03. Well, OSS 20 billion, which goes with 03 mini as far as benchmarking, to then say, hey, just does this sell a physical product? I don't love it for, like, is this a jewelry company? Like here, we can reach out to jewelry companies, plastic surgeons, retail stores, and coffee companies and sort them that way. It just doesn't do a great job of that. I'd rather do keyword searches for that anyway. But for, is this an e-commerce site that actually sells a product? It's pretty good for that. And so then we'll clean it up that way. And so now, wow, we're getting into a rabbit hole here. And so we're basically trying to figure out, usually our customers, people in the agency world will a lot of times say, oh, our customers don't know who their ICP is, XYZ. It's like, no. Our customers, they know who their ICP is. It's trying to tease out of them, though, who they don't want to be targeting so that we're not wasting email sends of people who are most likely going to mark us as spam. And then, so we ask a lot of questions, not only about who do you want to include, but trying to figure out who's going to sneak into that list that we want to exclude. And then flip over to messaging. Now, the first thing about messaging is, okay, if we target a director of paid media versus a head of growth, does your messaging change? And then we need to figure out on what level does it change and how much does it change? Do we need a completely different campaign for it? Or is it just going to be a little thing that we can swap out? What are we going to do about that? And then the other thing that we'll then do is then the campaign strategy. So one of the first campaign strategies that we do for people is, I think everybody should be running a creative ideas campaign, a lookalike campaign, and a like new hire campaign. And so the creative ideas campaign is just 3 bullet points of, hey, I've reviewed your company and this is how we can help you individually. The reason I like that one a lot is because sometimes you're not sure what the most powerful value proposition is. And in that, you get like 3 shots at 3 really nice looking value propositions to run for people. The lookalike campaign I like because then it's like, hey, we have one customer that did the placement for Hyundai's like COO or something, and they were the recruiting company for that. So it's like reaching out to other car companies and saying that you did this super crazy replacement or placement, and that was the first non-Korean person in the C-suite as well too. And they got promoted, so obviously it was a good pick. It would behoove us to reach out to other car companies and tell them that story, right? And then new enroll as well too, because those people are just there to just shake things up and try different things. It's just a very repeatable, nice campaign to be running. Those are basically like the first 3 campaigns. And then if anything else comes up on the onboarded call of, well, we want to try this versus this. We just had somebody who was like, we want to target schools. And if they're a religious school, there's a different messaging. And if they mention community on their website, we have different messaging. And then sometimes we'll push back. And I'm like, okay, hey, why do you want to research that they mention community on their website. And then they'll say to us, well, because if they mention community on their website, they want to build an inclusive environment. I'm like, hey, roll the dice here. What school doesn't want to build an inclusive environment? And shouldn't we just message everybody about that? And they say, oh, yes, you're right. That is true. And then, sometimes we'll push back on some of those things. And so even then, that is probably like a very straight line of, if we were to work with somebody right now, that's what I would just say that we'd be working with. This being said, though, as soon as we get into the onboarding call, other things come up. The biggest questions I'm asking are around, if you were to research somebody for 10 minutes, what are you looking for and how does it change your messaging? What can you say in an outbound email that your competitors can't say? And if you were at a conference with your perfect ICP and you needed to capture them with one feature, what's the thing that you would say to really get their ears to perk up? I would say that the most common questions that I ask people these days.
Interesting. You said, just not to go too deep into this piece, but you said 25 field items on Airtable. Is that what you fill up? Okay. Yeah. And is there any one or two things that you're comfortable sharing that might be helpful for someone?
I mean, it's basically the checklist of my life for the last 4 years. It's like, okay, they sign, we need to buy domains. We need to run those domains by them. We need to confirm from them the spelling of the inboxes. They filled out their onboarding form. We need to come to the onboarding call with a company list in hand based on the criteria that they gave us so that we can work on it together. They filled out a contact onboarding form with titles. We need to then find titles from the companies and then start working on that in front of them as well too. They filled out, so we do the account work, we do the contact work. Do they need to integrate with any CRMs? We need to talk to Outbounds, think about that. When we do our copywriting, let's be prepared with case studies that we already pull from their site or that they gave us so that we can also say we have lookalike lists prepared for them. Then we have the onboarding call. After the onboarding call, present them the main ideas of the top level campaigns we're going to be going after. Present to them the sequences we're going to be going after. Okay, get approval from them. Load up the first campaigns. Communicate that the emails are warming up and everything is working properly, and communicate that we're on time for our launch date. Also, then get the email campaign loaded 3 days before our launch date so that they can review it and make sure everything's good. Okay. And then we just
when the reviewing part comes, is that then reviewed within Excel, within like a G Sheets, or within like how does that review part work for you?
Yeah, so the review part, we're doing all of it in Smartlead. We're saying just, hey, go into the client portal here. Here's the final review section. Review these finalized emails. And they're doing it all in Smartlead, yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, fair enough. Two more questions. Now, when you find your let's just say you get the customer in, we get them working through, you get all the information that you have to pull out from them. You've built a pretty strong infrastructure of reasoning as to how you want to collect that data to build an ICP, and all that jazz. Let's just say they come up and you figure out that they're in a highly regulated space. We spoke about this at the very start of this call, right? They may be from the fintech space, or they're maybe from not the fast-moving AI space. How do you adapt your messaging framework or your methodologies to accommodate for a completely different buyer persona? Like you said, you got the 25 fields on Airtable, you have a bunch of standardized questions, but I'm assuming private equity has very different mechanisms compared to just like a cowboy, completely wild SaaS platform.
Yeah, and I would even say we're working with a highly regulated industry. We've got one guy who, if he does tax planning for somebody who's making over $1 million a year, and we get one of those people, his guarantee is not only can he save you triple on your tax savings, if he doesn't, he will pay the deposit that you paid and he'll double it. So I think his deposit is like $7,500, and then he'll double it as well too. That's a crazy offer to be making in the financial services space. The disclaimer on that thing is like huge in the email. And so whenever we're working with these industries, we always say, whatever your compliance framework is, we are following your compliance framework to the T. We're not attempting to take any guesses at this, right? Like there's some gray areas in compliance when it comes to cold email that people will argue about. Okay, so is like some lawyers, when they look at the Can-Spam Act, will say there must be a link in an email so that people can opt out of the email. And then others will say, no, you just need a clear direction. So some people are clear direction and they need to honor that instruction. So if somebody sends an email, some will say you need a link, and then others people will say, hey, if this isn't relevant to you, just let me know and I'll never reach out again. That's a gray area that sometimes companies fight about. And so when we have our more enterprise customers, we just default to whatever they want. We always do remind them that, hey, no IT company in the world or no IT department in the world will ever tell people to click on a link in an email that they haven't received before. And so actually, in my opinion, asking people to click on an unsubscribe link is actually not allowing them to opt out because they're not allowed to click on a link that they've never received an email from. But anyway, that's my
fair call. That's a fair call. I didn't even think
that's
of
my
that.
only, because we're trying to send emails with 0 links, so that's why we're trying to not send the unsubscribe link. But so if their compliance department is like, no, you need the unsubscribe link, I just present that. I'm like, look, like actually they can't because they're not allowed to click on links that they've never received emails from. If they don't take that from me, fine. I'm not a lawyer. We just do what they want. So when it comes to compliance, it's basically whatever you want to do, we will step up for. Like we have some companies emailing it to Europe and they don't have any GDPR worries. Because the other thing with GDPR is like GDPR is so that Disney does not sell your data to Spotify. That's the whole reason that GDPR exists. Is it illegal for a German college student to cold email the head of HR at a tech company for a job? I don't think so. Like, there's no way that that's the spirit of the law. And so sometimes we're just good to go and we just make sure that we're squeaky clean on, like, sometimes then we'll make it so that if somebody opts out at all in a European campaign, we'll blacklist the whole company. So there's like not even a chance that we email like one of their alias emails sometimes. And we build that automation with the Smartlead API. But other times we've worked with people where they're like, if this is not a publicly available email, you cannot email this email. And it's like, okay, fine. Then all we do is we just Google search the email and just make sure in the Google search that the email is there. And even though we automated the Google search, it's publicly available and it's out there in the universe. And so then we'll email it so we can go up and down in compliance depending on what.
Gotcha.
But the same thing is like, sometimes people will be like, are you SOC 2 compliant? I'm like, what? I'm wearing 2 socks right now. Of course. Like, what do you mean? And so like, I just, yeah. So I'm not, I'm the biggest spammer in the room a lot of times. So that's why we say, hey, we have no suggestions on compliance. Whatever you want us to do, we're going to adhere to, because I never want somebody coming back and like, oh, this nerd told us to do it. It's like, I'm not a lawyer. Whatever you want to do is what we'll do.
Nice. All right. Well, final question on this very front. Kind of jumps into this, kind of doesn't, which is in the realm of compliance, right? You mentioned overcoming spam traps through systematic approaches at times. Sometimes there's even open debate on, do we believe in spam traps? Do we don't believe in spam traps? But I don't know if your methodologies or ideologies have changed since the last time you've raised that note. But if you do believe in spam traps right now, what's your methodology for identify them? Because I'd love to know myself. And if you don't believe in spam traps, why? And are people who are doing that doing it just for the sake of it? Is there just more so like FUD that we're selling in the open market?
So, and when you define spam traps, you're talking about honeypots of like people who are openly like setting up emails just to catch spammers.
Like these black box catch-alls that you're trying to send messages to that come verified, and you realize just one of those, and then you burnt a whole domain or IP because now you're percolated to Spam Cop or you're percolated to Spam House or even worst case Barracuda or Proofpoint or any of the bigger SCGs that then goes all across Fortune 5000, right?
Yeah. Well, so one, I mean, we're diversified across so many domains that if you catch us on one of the domains, I've never looked at a campaign and thought to myself, wow, this isn't performing well. We got caught in spam traps. Like that's never been the case. And so I think the main thing is there's like, I think it's a Family Guy episode when like the Amish are building a house and then somebody like destroys the house and then they just rebuild it super fast. Sometimes I feel like that's what we're doing is like we were a part of that Google burn and we lost thousands of inboxes. And then we just turned around and we just set them up on Outlook. Like they're blocked inside of Google. We cannot get those domains out of Google anymore. It's done. We can't do it. And then we just
Mm.
turn around and we just set them up on Outlook. And so it's like, I always believe that we need to, because I mean, if spam traps were real, and there are people who hate spammers so much, somebody could, well, okay, if spam traps were such a big thing that we needed to worry about, somebody could easily join the Smartlead warm-up pool and just like destroy it for everybody and just put people in. And it's like, that's never really happened. That's not really a thing. So we don't really think about it that much. Even on another point, like Outlook, a lot of people ask us, how are you getting into Outlook inboxes right now? I don't really know, to be completely honest. And it's not something that I even really think about whatsoever. All we think about is we have this metric that we have to hit in order to get positive responses for our customers. This is what we got to do. When we always keep extra batches of inboxes warming, when some inboxes look like they're going down and the open rate goes down, and we switch out those inboxes to newer inboxes and the reply rate goes up, that's great. And like, we're like, it feels like this Outlook thing is something that I can't control. So I just don't really think about it. Do we ever separate our campaigns and only send to Outlook people? That's one of our like last, or we only send to Gmail people. That's maybe one of our last, like, hey, let's squeeze everything we can for this customer because they're not happy and let's just pull this lever right now. But like, I just got an email. We just got a lead while we've been on this. And in the Slack message, it said, get Outlook by iOS or whatever the thing says when you respond from your phone. So like, that was, we just got an Outlook lead right now, right? And so it's not, that is something that I get asked a lot about. The only thing that I can really say that I feel like makes a difference is the age of the domain that you're sending from. And that just still goes into my tip of, if you have a certain amount of inboxes and you think you need this many inboxes, keep some just warming up. And then if you never use them, great, because everything is going well for you, amazing. But then you have inboxes that, if things are going bad for you, you've warmed up these inboxes for 6, 8, 12 weeks or whatever it is, and now you can switch to these inboxes instead. And then that helps you with the domain age thing to get into Outlook. And that's the only thing I think that's really made a difference. Yeah.
Fair play. Nice. I do have one point rate. Like with our side, we do have people come into the warm-up pool, but we've got some very fun advanced mechanisms to catch them now. And you're on the upper echelon of like premium pooling, that like your set of mailboxes is like along with the best of the best in the market, so no one even comes to that. It's only hyper verified individuals to we'll be more public about that in terms of people who get access to that, and there's a whole process for it. But yeah, just as a FYI. But lovely, sir, you have been nothing but kind, and very grateful for the time that you've given us. I'm not even going to ask you where to find you, because I think making you more accessible is going to be more difficult for you. But I'll leave your socials, your LinkedIn, the 45,000 followers. If anyone wants to add one more to that, please check Eric's entire profile structure out in the video's comment section, as well as the description, along with his YouTube channel. I can tell you for a fact, whether views or notes matter or not, Eric's YouTube is something our entire team watches. Eric's YouTube is what a lot of people watch across the market, and you will learn a lot about automation and lead gen from him, like you have over this episode. Eric, any passing notes for you to give on to the rest of the audience who are trying to build and grow their audience, their own lead gen agency, because that's who this is for.
For growing and building your own audience, I would say is just like, Hormozy talks about this accordion method of post a ton, see what worked, double down on the thing that works, do more of the thing that works, and keep going. I think that's really correct. Like, we're at, I guess, like 100,000 impressions. What's the time frame of the 100,000 impressions? Let me look. I'm at 100,000 post impressions right now on LinkedIn for the past 7 days, and it's
nice.
All just like post. And I think the biggest thing that I'll do is I'll sit down and schedule the content. Like, usually on Fridays, I'll dedicate like an hour and a half to just trying to post 2 times a day. But now I get so busy with operational things, I kind of get bogged down. But if you're trying to build your agency, the biggest thing that you can do, in my opinion, is content marketing. And it's so ironic. And sometimes people like make fun of, even prospects, they'll be like,
isn't it weird that you run an outbound agency, but you get most of your customers through organic content?
Uh-huh.
And it's like, yes, but you're also working in a space where reputation matters so much. The barrier to entry for opening up a lead generation company is zero. So it kind of makes
Compounding.
sense that you have to go this route,
Mm-hmm.
because there's so many people who could possibly be in the industry. So anyway, yeah.
Fair play. Well, thank you so much, Eric. Thank you again.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you,
me.
everyone. I will see you in another episode. Have a good day.
Absolutely. Thank you.